Even more than your typical movie, the ending to a Scream movie is especially important. Not only do we get to find out who the Ghostface is, but we also get to find out what BS reason they made up this time to letting a character survive. But I love the Scream franchise, and I love the influence that Scream has had on the horror genre. So today I'm excited to rank all the endings to all 6 Scream movies from worst to best.
Oh, this is the greatest part. You're gonna love this. We got a surprise for you, Sidney. Yeah, you're gonna love this one. It's a Scream, baby.
Starting us off at number 6 is going to be the ending to Scream 5. So Scream 5 is intentionally supposed to be an homage to the original Scream, and the ending's really no different. The ending takes place at Stu Macher's house, just like in the original movie, and even the reveal in Scream 5 happens in the exact same spot as Billy and Stu's reveal. I've never really understood why directors want to do stuff like this, though. I love little Easter eggs paying tribute to other movies or scenes inspired by classic movies, but when you finally have a chance to direct in a franchise as iconic as Scream, why wouldn't you want to take a swing at creating your own unique ending? Like that scene where Mindy's on the couch alone watching Randy and telling movie Randy to turn around when in reality she should turn around because Ghostface is behind her. It just doesn't do it for me. I also think this is one of the weaker Ghostface reveals in the franchise. I like Richie's character, but I think especially when comparison to like Billy and Stu's reveal at the end of that movie, it's definitely one of the weakest reveals in the franchise. Richie and Amber just aren't even as close to as interesting. We do get some good gore at the end of Scream 5 though. Amber gets burnt to all hell and then shot in the head, and then Richie gets sliced up pretty good, but I don't really see a world where the ending of Scream 5 isn't my least favorite in the franchise until they come out with a new movie. Up next at number 5 is going to be the ending to Scream 6. I'll just go ahead and say it. The reveal in Scream 6 is my least favorite reveal in the franchise. I didn't even really care about Richie's character all that much to begin with, so why would I care about these throwaway characters who are all linked to Richie, and that's their entire motive in the movie? I do enjoy the Ghostface shrine. I know it's a little gimmicky, but I like seeing all the previous trinkets from the other movies. That was pretty cool. And unlike Scream 5, the entire setting for the ending is pretty much all new and fresh, even though there is a tiny bit of a Scream 2 feel, being that both endings were in a theater. Also, having pretty much everyone revealed at the end as alive is not a new thing for Scream. They used to do that all the time with Dewey, but yeah, the plot armor with Chad was a little ridiculous. I know it's a movie, but it kind of takes the stakes out of the movie when the dude gets stabbed like 17 times and then just smiles his way back to the hospital for like a little touch-up. Overall, I like most of Scream 6, but I definitely feel like they dropped the ball at the end of the movie. I think they took what could have been a great entry in the franchise and just kind of ended up with a solid entry in the franchise because they took such a nosedive at the end of the movie. So yes, overall, I feel like the end of Scream 6 is the worst part of the movie. All right, now we're getting into the endings to the Scream movies that I really like a lot. So coming in at number 4 is gonna be Scream 2. Ultimately, I like the final choice of what they did with the reveal at Scream 2. So if you didn't know, there were a lot of script leaks throughout production in Scream 2 after like the shocking end that everybody saw in Scream 1. A lot of people wanted to know what was going to happen at the end of Scream 2, but ultimately they decided to go with this Billy Loomis's mom on a revenge tour, using this young kid, Timothy Olyphant, to kind of be the person, the muscle to pull off the murders, and she's kind of the puppet master in a way. So I really enjoy that. I like that dynamic between the two characters, and just overall, it's one of the better reveals to me in the franchise. I think Timothy Olyphant really comes across as a believable psychopath in a way in his performance, and the little tidbit about blaming the kills on the media in the courtroom as kind of the plan is a nice little touch and was definitely relevant at the time. I think it's a fun setting in the theater too, but don't ask me why in the hell Sidney ran to the theater after watching Hallie get murdered instead of anywhere where it would actually make sense. Run to a phone in any business or any house nearby to call the police, or hell, even run to like campus security, anything. But anyways, this was still a fun one to me. I'm a big fan of the original Friday the 13th, which is clearly inspired by, kind of making Mrs. Loomis this Pamela Voorhees type of a character, like I mentioned a second ago, which is great. Pamela Voorhees is one of my favorite horror villains ever. There's just something scary as hell about a vengeful mom who's completely lost it. Sidney and Mrs. Loomis also have a nice little scuffle, which is fun. And then we also get that dynamic of Cotton showing up. He grabs the gun. He's kind of pointing it at both of them. Ooh, what's he going to do? Is he going to shoot this person? Is he going to shoot this person? Sidney did just have him arrested, so he's probably still a little bit pissed about that. What's he going to do here? That's kind of fun. And then also we get that pan out at the end of the movie with Sidney, and we get to hear Collective Soul over that pan out, which is fun. It just oozes 90s, and I love it. Now, starting us off in the top 3 is going to be Scream 3. Now, I've already talked about this over and over, but I'm not a big fan of the Ghostface voice changer stuff in Scream 3. And yes, that is a big factor at the end of Scream 3 because it basically allows Ghostface to kind of just manipulate anyone and get everyone just to come into a central location at the end of the movie. But regardless, I really like the setting for the end of Scream 3 in this old Hollywood home, plus bonus points that it was also a setting for Halloween H2O, which is cool. Not that that matters really at all for this list, but just kind of something that's cool there. We also get some decent gore at the end of Scream 3, and Sidney ends up killing her own brother to stop everything. So this movie introduces a different emotion to the end, essentially. It's not a boyfriend or a friend, it's actually her own blood, so that kind of adds a different dynamic to it. Now, as far as the reveal goes, this isn't my least favorite reveal in the franchise, but it's also not my favorite, just kind of in the middle. It used to be my least favorite until the new movies came out, but just the entire story about Roman working all these years to become a director to hopefully get lucky enough to direct the movie related to his mom's death, all just to get back at Sidney? Also, at the end of Scream 3, it kind of undercuts the end of the original Scream by saying that Roman was really just the puppet master over Billy and Stu, which I don't really love. But overall, I think the setting fits so well into a Scream 3 setting with this old Hollywood home. There's some decent tension here. And just overall, I think I just have a really good time with the end of Scream 3. All right, time for the top 2. And at number 2, as my second favorite Scream ending in the entire franchise, is going to be the ending to Scream 4, which to me, all in all, is just a fun ending. It's also a little bit unique in the franchise because one of the killers almost gets away with everything at the end, which is kind of fun. It's just a little bit of a twist on kind of the same sort of endings that we get to see over and over in the Scream franchise. It's kind of nice when you do get something like a little bit fresh and unique. But honestly, I'm still waiting for them to be ballsy enough to just let a Ghostface survive a movie and then come back in the next movie, not have the reveal in that particular movie. I think that would be pretty damn cool. Let me know down in the comments down below if you agree with me. But anyways, this time around at the end of Scream 4, we start out at Kirby's house after all that shit that went down at the Stabathon. We get some red herrings and distractions with Trevor showing up, Charlie tied up outside like Steve from the original, but Charlie is actually one of the killers in the end, which is fun. But probably the best part about this ending is Emma Roberts' performance, really. I think she does a really good job playing this teenager that's lost it and is just sick of her aunt stealing the spotlight pretty much all her life. Plus, they also throw in some stuff that's relevant for the time and like an era where it's like peak Kardashian time. Like how if she survives, she'll be instantly famous in a way. I do, though, think that having two Ghostfaces that are both tiny was a little bit of an oversight with the writing process because it's pretty unbelievable to think that these two killed all those people with hand-to-hand combat, essentially. But the very last part in the hospital is fun. Jill thinks she's getting away with it, but turns out Sidney's going to be okay. So then we get that big fight scene where Jill's still kicking some ass, but now she's wounded and just ends up getting outnumbered essentially at the end. They also use the defibrillator on Jill's head, which is funny and kind of like unique in a way to me for a Scream movie where it's usually just gunshots or stabs. Really though, I think it's just an ending that's tense. I'm always down for a hospital setting for my horror movies. I love that. I also just think Jill and Charlie's performance at the end kind of elevates this ending quite a bit for me. And coming in hot as my favorite ending in the Scream franchise, even after all these years, is still the ending to the original Scream, which to this day, no matter what, after all these movies, is still my personal favorite ending in the franchise. Yes, it's always going to have an advantage of being the first movie in the franchise, so it has that kind of element of surprise, but I definitely do try to just put that to the side. As far as the reveal goes, it's my favorite reveal in the franchise. I just think the chemistry between Billy and Stu is pretty much unmatched so far in the franchise. Their very different personalities just work so well together. Plus, just how funny Stu is at the end, while also coming across as kind of like sinister and evil at the same time. It's just one of those things that will always make Matthew Lillard a horror icon. The setting's fantastic at Stu's house. Randy standing up and explaining the horror rules while watching Halloween with the party will never not be one of the best scenes in the franchise. You also get a couple of those all-time one-liners at the end of the OG Scream, like "Not in my movie" from Sidney, and "We all go a little mad sometimes" from Billy. Plus, you could say that the iconic Tatum kill that happens in the garage is a part of the end too, so that just kind of adds to it as well. But it's just such a perfect ending to one of the greatest horror movies ever made. All right, everybody, that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed my ranking of all 6 Scream endings. Let me know down in the comments down below what your rankings are of the Scream endings as well. I read every single comment that I get, and I also respond to every single comment I get. So let me know down below. Check out one of these videos next to me if you want more content from me right now. Make sure you subscribe if you're a horror fan as well. But anyways, everybody, I will talk to you all in the next one.